The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of human space without warning. Captain Dongmin stared at the readings on his screen and felt his heart skip a beat. The vessel was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest space station. Its smooth, silver surface reflected the distant stars like a mirror. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Communications Officer So Young. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she worked at her console. "It's in perfect English." Dongmin straightened in his captain's chair aboard the Soul's Pride. Around him, the bridge crew waited in tense silence. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and everyone knew it would change everything. "Put it through," he ordered. A gentle voice filled the bridge. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Viridian Collective. We come in peace and friendship. We have traveled far to welcome you into our community of worlds." The alien ship moved, slowly toward Earth's outer defense satellites. It made no threatening moves, but its size alone was intimidating. Admiral Byung-ho's voice crackled through the communication system from Earth Command. "Captain, maintain safe distance and gather all possible data. Do not engage unless they show hostile intent." "Understood, Admiral," Dongmin replied. He turned to his science officer. "Hei-wan, what can you tell me about their ship?" Hei-wan studied her readings carefully. She was young for her position, but brilliant with languages and alien technology. "The hull material is unknown to us. Their energy readings are massive. This ship could power half of Earth for a year." 3 days later, formal meetings began aboard a neutral station between Earth and the alien vessel. The Viridians looked almost human, but taller and more graceful. Their skin had a slight blue tint and their eyes were larger than human eyes. They moved with smooth, flowing motions that seemed almost like dancing. Ambassador Veltar spoke for the aliens. His voice was warm and friendly. "We have watched your species for some time. You show great promise. Many younger races struggle alone in the dark between stars. We offer guidance and friendship." President Ji-Hu led the human delegation. He was a careful man who had guided Earth through difficult times. "What exactly are you offering?" he asked. "Medical, knowledge that will end disease and extend life. Technology that will solve your energy problems. Protection from the dangers that exist in deep space. All we ask is that you join our community peacefully." The offer seemed too good to be true. Earth had struggled with overpopulation, climate problems, and resource shortages for decades. The aliens promised solutions to all of these issues. But something bothered So Young. During the meetings, she noticed the Viridian ship sending coded messages to each other. The signals were complex and frequent. When she asked about them, the aliens smiled politely. "Simple status reports," Veltar explained. "We must keep our homeworlds informed of our progress." So Young wasn't satisfied with this answer. She worked late into the night, trying to decode the alien messages. The patterns were unlike anything she had seen before, but slowly she began to understand pieces of them. What she found made her blood run cold. "Admiral," she said, bursting into Byung-ho's office, "I've been working on their communications. These aren't status reports." Byung-ho looked up from his papers. He was an old soldier who had fought in the colony wars. His instincts told him something was wrong with the aliens, even though he couldn't prove it. "What did you find?" he asked. "References to something called processing centers, resource extraction quotas, and something about compliance protocols." So Young's hands trembled as she showed him her work. "Sir, I think they're planning something terrible." Meanwhile, the public meetings continued. The Viridians showed videos of their other member worlds. Beautiful cities stretched across green landscapes. Happy people worked in gleaming factories and walked through peaceful parks. Children played in schools that looked like paradise. "This could be Earth's future," Veltar said. "No more war, no more hunger, no more disease. All species in our collective live in harmony." President Ji-Hu was impressed, but he noticed something odd. In all the videos, the people seemed strangely calm. They moved slowly and spoke in quiet voices. Their faces showed no strong emotions, only gentle contentment. "Your people seem very peaceful," he observed. "Peace is our greatest gift," Veltar replied. When basic needs are met and conflicts are resolved, natural happiness follows. Heywan worked frantically to understand more of the alien language. She had always been good with codes and patterns. Late one night, she finally broke through another layer of their communications. What she read made her sick to her stomach. The next morning, she ran to Admiral Byung-ho's office. "Sir, I've translated more of their messages. They're not here to help us. They're here to harvest us." Byung-ho's face went dark. "What do you mean?" "They talk about genetic sampling and behavioral modification. They mention turning us into worker units. Admiral, those happy people in their videos aren't free. They're slaves who don't know they're slaves." The Admiral sat back in his chair. His worst fears were coming true. "Can you prove this?" "I'm working on it, but we need more time. They're planning to start something soon. They mention preparation phases and implementation schedules." That afternoon, more Viridian ships arrived. They were smaller than the first vessel, but still impressive. Veltar explained they carried medical teams and technical specialists who would begin helping Earth immediately. "We believe in acting quickly," he said with his constant smile. "Why wait when we can begin improving lives today?" But Captain Dong Min noticed these new ships positioned themselves around Earth's major population centers. When he mentioned this to Veltar, the alien's smile never wavered. "We want to be close to those we serve," he said. "Distance creates delays, and delays create suffering." That night, Admiral Byung-ho called a secret meeting with his most trusted officers. In a secure room deep underground, he spoke quietly to Dongmin, So-young, and Hye-wan. "I believe we're looking at an invasion disguised as a rescue," he said. "The question is, what do we do about it?" The room fell silent. Earth's military was no match for the alien technology. But they couldn't simply surrender their species to slavery, no matter how comfortable it might appear. "We need proof," Dongmin said finally. "Something concrete that will convince the government." "And we need a plan," added So-young. "Even if we prove they're lying, how do we fight them?" Outside, the alien ships waited in the darkness of space. Their gentle voices continued to promise peace and prosperity. But now the humans knew the truth. The Viridians had come for peace, but it was the peace of the grave. The vote was close, but humanity chose to trust the aliens. President Ji-hoo announced Earth's decision to join the Viridian Collective during a worldwide broadcast. Celebration filled the streets as people dreamed of a future without war, disease, or hunger. Admiral Byung-ho watched the festivities from his office window and felt sick. Despite his warnings, the civilian government had been seduced by alien promises. The military's concerns were dismissed as paranoia and fear of change. "The people want hope," President Ji-hoo had told him. "These aliens offer us everything we've ever dreamed of. How can we say no?" But the Admiral knew better. He activated a secret communication channel to his most trusted commanders. "Operation Silent Watch is now active," he said quietly. "Monitor everything. Record everything. Trust nothing." Captain Dongmin received new orders to escort Viridian medical ships to Earth's colonies. As he watched the alien vessels dock with human stations, he felt like he was delivering wolves to shepherds. The Viridians were polite and helpful, but something about them made his skin crawl. On the colony world of New Seoul, he met Captain Min-soo, who commanded the local defense force. Min-soo was a practical man who had fought space pirates for years. He understood real threats when he saw them. "These medical advisors make me nervous," Min-soo confided. "They ask too many questions about our population, our resources, our defenses. They say it's for integration planning, but why do healers need military information?" The Viridian medical centers opened on dozens of worlds simultaneously. Long lines of humans waited for miraculous treatments. The aliens could cure cancer in hours, repair damaged organs in days, and extend human life by decades. But every treatment required detailed genetic samples and brain scans. Dr. Chang-wook, Earth's leading xenobiologist, was allowed to observe the medical procedures. What he saw worried him deeply. The aliens showed intense interest in human genetic diversity. They collected samples from people of different ethnic backgrounds, ages, and physical abilities. They're mapping our entire species, he reported to Admiral Byung-ho. Every genetic variation, every biological trait. They claim it's for better treatment. But they're building a complete database of human biology. Meanwhile, So Young continued her work breaking alien codes. The Viridians had given humanity new communication systems as gifts. The technology was impressive, but So Young discovered it also monitored every message sent through it. They're watching everything, she told the Admiral. Every email, every phone call, every text message. The communication network is actually a spy system. Haewon made an even more disturbing discovery. The alien educational programs offered freely to human children contained subtle changes to human language and thinking patterns. The lessons taught dependency on authority and discouraged individual initiative. They're not just watching us, she realized. They're changing us. Slowly, carefully, but definitely changing us. 3 months after integration began, contact was lost with the outer colonies. President Jihu was told the communication problems were temporary technical difficulties. The Viridians offered to handle all contact with those worlds while repairs were made. But Taehyun, head of Terran intelligence, didn't believe in coincidences. He had built a network of spies and informants throughout human space. Their reports painted a frightening picture. The outer colonies aren't just quiet, he told Admiral Byung-ho during a secret meeting. They're different. My agents report that people there move strangely, speak in monotone voices, and show no interest in anything except their assigned work. The Admiral's worst fears were coming true. What about the colonies that haven't fully integrated yet? Those are next, Taehyun replied grimly. The Viridians are moving systematically. They complete full integration of one world before moving to the next. Whatever they're doing, it's permanent. On Earth, the alien influence grew stronger every day. Viridian advisors joined government departments offering helpful suggestions about resource allocation and population management. Their ideas always seemed reasonable, but they slowly shifted human society toward greater central control. Captain Yoon-ji commanded a deep space patrol vessel. She was ordered to investigate strange energy readings from the direction of the silent colonies. When she tried to get closer, Viridian ships politely but firmly turned her away. Security concerns, they explained. These worlds are undergoing sensitive integration procedures. Outside interference could be dangerous. But Yoon-ji was stubborn. She used her ship's long-range sensors to penetrate the alien security cordon. What she saw chilled her to the bone. The colonies were still inhabited, but the life signs showed unusual patterns. Human brain activity was strangely uniform, as if everyone was thinking the same thoughts. Admiral, she reported over encrypted channels, something terrible has happened to those people. The proof Admiral Byung-ho needed finally came from an unexpected source. A damaged Viridian courier ship drifted into human space, its crew dead from a technical accident. Haewon and her team were allowed to examine the wreckage for humanitarian purposes. Inside the alien computer systems, they found detailed plans for humanity's future. The document spoke of genetic modification programs, neural control implants, and the transformation of humans into specialized worker castes. The plan was thousands of pages long and had been refined over centuries of use on other species. My God, Haewon whispered as she read. They've done this before, hundreds of times. Every species in their collective was conquered exactly the same way. The files contained detailed studies of previous conquests. Each species had been approached with offers of peace and prosperity. Each had been slowly transformed into docile workers, their independence and creativity systematically destroyed. The Viridians called it optimization. Admiral Byung-ho gathered his secret council one more time. The evidence was overwhelming, but it might already be too late. Viridian bioships were approaching Earth, carrying what the aliens called implementation teams. We have 48 hours before they begin the final phase, he told his officers. After that, humanity as we know it will cease to exist. Captain Dongmin spoke first. What can we do? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. The Admiral smiled grimly. That's where they made their mistake. They've been so busy studying us, they forgot we might be studying them too. For months, while the public integration proceeded, The military had been secretly analyzing every piece of Viridian technology they could access. Human engineers had worked around the clock to understand alien systems and find weaknesses. Every species they conquered before accepted their offer completely, Byung-ho explained. They trusted the aliens and gave them total access. But we've been preparing. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt had been building weapons based on captured alien technology. The project was so secret that even most military personnel didn't know about it, but now it was humanity's only hope. The Viridians think we're helpless, the Admiral continued. They think we'll submit like all the others. They're about to learn that humans are different. So Young looked up from her communication console. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching Earth. The alien fleet is beginning final approach. The time for secrets was over. Admiral Byung-ho activated emergency protocols throughout human space. Military units that had been pretending to cooperate with alien advisors suddenly turned on their guests. Hidden weapons came online. Secret resistance cells activated on every human world. All units, the Admiral broadcast on secure channels. Operation Freedom Dawn is now active. Show these aliens what happens when you threaten humanity. The war for human survival was about to begin. Captain Yoonji led the stealth mission to the silent colonies aboard her ship, the Busan Runner. The vessel had been secretly modified with captured Viridian technology, making it nearly invisible to alien sensors. With her were Dr. Chang-wook and a team of the military's best specialists. The journey to New Busan colony took 3 days through hyperspace. When they arrived, the colony appeared normal from a distance. Cities glowed with electric lights, and orbital platforms continued their work. But something felt wrong. Life signs are stable, reported the ship's medical officer. But the patterns are strange. Everyone seems to be following identical sleep cycles and daily routines. Dr. Chang-wook studied the readings carefully. It's like they're all connected to the same schedule. No individual variation at all. They landed the Busan Runner in a hidden valley far from the main settlement. Using stolen Viridian camouflage technology, the team approached the colony on foot. What they found horrified them. The people of New Busan moved like robots. They walked in straight lines, spoke only when necessary, and showed no emotions. Children played organized games in perfect silence. Adults worked at their jobs with mechanical precision. No one laughed, argued, or showed any sign of individual personality. They're still human, Chang-wook whispered as they watched from concealment. But they're not alive anymore. Not really. Yoonji led her team to the colony's medical center, where Viridian doctors continued their work. Through hidden cameras, they watched as humans received their daily treatments. Each person sat quietly while machines scanned their brains and injected them with unknown substances. The team's technical specialist, Young-ho, managed to hack into the medical system's computers. What he found made everyone sick. The aliens were using advanced neural implants to control human behavior. The implants were so small, they couldn't be detected without special equipment. They're not just controlling behavior, Chang-wook realized, as he studied the data. They're rewriting human personality. These people remember their old lives, but they can't feel anything about them anymore. The worst discovery came in the colony's industrial sector. Humans worked in massive mining operations, extracting rare metals from the planet's crust. They labored for 16 hours each day without complaint, rest, or apparent fatigue. Tenlarai. Minerals they gathered were loaded onto Viridian cargo ships and sent to unknown destinations. This is what they want from us, Yoonji said grimly. Perfect workers who never get tired, never complain, and never stop producing. But Chang-wook noticed something else that chilled him even more. The aliens were collecting biological samples from every human worker. Genetic material, tissue samples, and reproductive cells were stored in vast biobanks. They're harvesting our genetic diversity, he explained to the team. Every unique human trait, every adaptation our species has developed, they're stealing our biological heritage. The team discovered that the Viridians had divided the colonists into different groups based on their physical and mental abilities. Strong humans became miners and construction workers. Intelligent humans were turned into technicians and engineers. Creative humans were forced to design new products and entertainment for other conquered species. "It's a factory," Young-ho said with disgust. "They've turned the entire colony into a factory that produces whatever the Viridian Empire needs." On their second day of observation, the team witnessed something that nearly broke their minds. A transport ship arrived carrying members of another, alien species. These beings were tall and thin with golden skin and large black eyes. Like the humans, they moved with mechanical precision and showed no individual will. How many species have they done this to? Yoonji wondered aloud. Chang-wook counted the different alien types he could see. At least a dozen different species work in this one colony, each one specialized for different tasks. The team realized they were looking at the true scope of the Viridian Empire. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of species, all reduced to biological machines serving their alien masters. The Viridians themselves did no physical work. They simply managed their vast collection of enslaved peoples. On their final day, the team made their most important discovery. In the colony's communication center, they found records of the optimization process. The documents detailed exactly how the Viridians had conquered each species and transformed them into workers. "It's always the same pattern," Haiwan said, reading from the translated files back on Earth. "First, they offer gifts and friendship. Then they gradually introduce their control systems. Finally, they implement full optimization once resistance becomes impossible." The files contained detailed psychological profiles of hundreds of species. The Viridians had studied every possible form of resistance and developed countermeasures for each one. They knew exactly how to break the will of any intelligent life form. "They've been doing this for over 10,000 years, Chang-wook reported to Admiral Byung-ho. "Their entire civilization is built on slavery. They don't even remember how to do things for themselves anymore." But the most shocking revelation came from deeper in the files. The Viridians weren't the original masters of their empire. They had once been conquered themselves by an even older species. That ancient race had long since died out, but their control systems continued to operate automatically. "The Viridians think they're in charge," Haiwan explained. "But they're just as much slaves as everyone else. They're trapped in a system they can't escape from." This discovery gave Admiral Byung-ho hope. If the aliens were themselves trapped by their own control systems, they might have weaknesses that could be exploited. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Viridian implementation teams had begun their work. Large bioships landed in major cities around the world. The aliens announced that optimization would begin with volunteers, but everyone knew that soon it would become mandatory. President Ji-hoo tried to resist, but he found himself increasingly isolated. Many government officials had already undergone preliminary treatments that made them more cooperative with alien suggestions. The president realized too late that his own staff was working against him. Taehyun's intelligence network reported that similar changes were happening on every human world. The Viridians moved with practiced efficiency, implementing the same program they had used hundreds of times before. But this time, something was different. As Captain Yoonji's team prepared to return to Earth with their evidence, they made one final discovery that changed everything. In the depths of the colony's computer systems, Young-ho found fragments of deleted files. The records showed that one species had successfully resisted Viridian optimization. The Kethrak had fought back so effectively that the aliens had been forced to completely destroy their worlds rather than risk the rebellion spreading. "What made them different?" Admiral Byung-ho asked when he received the report. Chang-wook had studied the fragments carefully. They understood the control systems better than any other species, but more importantly, they never stopped fighting. Even when defeat seemed certain, they kept looking for new ways to resist. The Admiral smiled grimly. Then they would have gotten along well with humans. As the Busan runner raced back toward Earth, carrying proof of the Viridians' true nature, Admiral Byung-ho prepared to reveal humanity's secret weapon. While the aliens had been studying human biology and psychology, human engineers had been studying alien technology. The Viridians had made one crucial mistake. They assumed that humans would react to conquest the same way as every other species they had encountered. They expected fear, desperation, and eventual submission. They had never faced a species that became more dangerous when threatened. They had never encountered a race that treated impossible odds as a personal challenge. They were about to learn what made humans unique in the galaxy. The war was coming and humanity was ready. Admiral Byung-ho stood before the massive viewscreen in Earth's hidden command center. The facility had been built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, invisible to Viridian sensors. Around him, hundreds of officers worked at their stations, coordinating humanity's secret preparations for war. Operation Freedom Dawn is now active, he announced to the assembled fleet commanders. All pretense ends now. Show them what happens when you threaten the human race. Across human space, the response was immediate and devastating. Military units that had been pretending to cooperate with Viridian advisors suddenly turned on their alien guests. Secret weapons that had been hidden for months came online simultaneously. The aliens found themselves trapped in a coordinated uprising they never saw coming. Captain Dong Min took command of the new flagship, Incheon's Fury. The massive vessel had been built in complete secrecy using reverse-engineered Viridian technology. But human engineers had made crucial improvements. Where alien systems prioritized control and efficiency, human modifications focused on raw destructive power. All weapons online, reported the ship's tactical officer. Energy levels at maximum. The Incheon's Fury was just one of over 2,000 ships that emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system. For months, human shipyards had worked around the clock to build a true war fleet. The Viridians had been so confident in their peaceful approach that they never suspected the scale of human preparation. Captain Min-soo led the evacuation of threatened colonies. His ships raced from world to world, collecting human civilians before the aliens could implement their optimization programs. The evacuation had been planned for months, with detailed lists of who needed to be saved and where they could be taken. Hurry, he urged his crews. We have maybe hours before they realize what's happening. On New Busan, the colonists who hadn't yet been optimized fought desperately to resist Viridian control. Armed resistance groups that had been organized in secret emerged from hiding to attack alien installations. The Viridians found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, an entire population willing to fight to the death rather than submit. Dr. Chang Wook worked frantically in his laboratory to develop countermeasures against Viridian neural control systems. His research team had been studying captured alien technology for months. Now they raced to produce devices that could free enslaved humans from their mental chains. The neural implants operate on a specific frequency, he explained to his assistants. If we can disrupt that frequency, we might be able to break their control. The first liberation devices were crude but effective. When activated near controlled humans, they caused the alien implants to malfunction. For the first time in months, enslaved colonists began to think and feel for themselves again. My God, whispered a freed miner on New Busan. What did they do to us? What did they make us do? The horror of realization spread through the liberated populations. Humans who had been forced to work as mindless slaves suddenly remembered their families, their dreams, their individual identities. Many broke down weeping. Others flew into murderous rage against their alien captors. But the Viridians were not helpless. Their empire had survived for thousands of years by crushing resistance wherever it appeared. Massive warships began arriving from deep space, carrying weapons that could destroy entire planets. Ambassador Veltar's friendly mask finally slipped during a confrontation with President Ji-hoo. The alien's face twisted with rage as he realized that humanity had been deceiving him all along. You barbaric fools, he snarled. We offered you paradise. We could have made you happy, peaceful, productive. Instead, you choose war and suffering. You will regret this decision. But President Ji-hoo had found his backbone at last. The evidence from the silent colonies had shown him the truth about Viridian paradise. You offered us slavery disguised as gifts, he replied. We choose freedom, no matter the cost. Captain Yoonji led hit-and-run attacks against Viridian supply lines. Her modified ship could strike fast and disappear before the aliens could respond. Each successful attack disrupted the enemy's carefully organized systems and bought more time for human preparations. Their entire empire depends on rigid scheduling and perfect coordination, she reported to Admiral Byung-ho. If we can create enough chaos, their system starts to break down. The Admiral smiled grimly. Chaos is something humans excel at creating. So Young commanded a signals intelligence ship that intercepted Viridian communications. What she heard shocked her. The aliens were calling desperately for reinforcements from across their empire. They had never faced organized resistance before and didn't know how to handle it. They're scared, she reported. For the first time in their history, they're actually afraid. The Viridians tried to use their enslaved species as soldiers, but Dr. Chang-wook's liberation devices began freeing them as well. Across the galaxy, other conquered races began to remember what freedom felt like. Some joined the human rebellion immediately. Others simply stopped working, bringing Viridian industry to a halt. But the aliens had one more card to play. If they couldn't control humanity, they would destroy it completely. Massive planet-killer weapons began targeting human worlds. The message was clear: submit or die. Admiral Byung-ho gathered his commanders for a final briefing. The human fleet was outnumbered 10-1, but they had advantages the aliens didn't understand. They fight to maintain order, he told his officers. We fight for survival. They follow ancient protocols. We adapt and improvise. They see war as a last resort. For humans, war is just another problem to solve. The human fleet moved to intercept the Viridian armada in the outer solar system. As the two forces approached each other, every person on Earth watched the sky and prayed. This would determine the future of their species. Captain Dong-min studied the enemy formation from the bridge of the Inchen's Fury. The Viridian ships were beautiful and perfectly organized. They moved with mechanical precision, following battle plans that had been successful for millennia. All ships, Admiral Byung-ho's voice crackled over the communication system. Remember what we're fighting for, not just our own freedom, but the freedom of every enslaved species in the galaxy. Today, we don't just defend humanity. We defend the right of all thinking beings to choose their own destiny. The space between the fleets began to glow with weapon energy. In moments, the greatest battle in human history would begin. But the humans felt no fear, only determination. They had come too far to surrender now. For Earth, Dong-min whispered. For freedom, his crew replied. The war for the soul of the galaxy was about to begin. The battle began with a storm of energy weapons that lit up space like a second sun. The Viridian fleet attacked with perfect coordination, their massive ships moving in beautiful formations that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But the human fleet scattered like leaves in a hurricane, breaking apart and reforming in patterns the aliens had never seen before. Captain Dong-min gritted his teeth as the Inchen's Fury shook under enemy fire. Around him, his crew worked with desperate efficiency. Unlike the Viridians, who followed rigid battle protocols, the humans adapted their tactics moment by moment. Enemy flagship dead ahead, called his tactical officer. Range closing fast. All weapons target their command center, Dong-min ordered. If we cut off their head, maybe the body will stop moving. The human strategy was pure chaos. While the Viridians tried to maintain their perfect formations, human ships darted between them like angry wasps. Captain Yoonji led a squadron of fast attack vessels that struck at weak points and vanished before the aliens could respond. They can't handle unpredictability, she reported over the communication system. Every time we break their formation, they have to stop and reorganize. Admiral Byung-ho watched the battle from his command center deep inside the asteroid belt. His screen showed the vast space combat unfolding across millions of kilometers. The human fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were also doing something the Viridians had never experienced. They were winning. Sir, we're receiving strange signals from the enemy fleet, So Young reported. It sounds like arguments? They're fighting among themselves about how to respond to our tactics. The Admiral smiled grimly. They've never faced an enemy that didn't follow the rules. They don't know what to do with us. On the front lines, Dr. Chang-wook's liberation devices were having an even greater effect than expected. As human ships disabled Viridian vessels, boarding parties rushed inside to free enslaved crews. Many of the alien ships were operated by conquered species who had been forced to serve against their will. "The crew is fighting back against their own officers," reported a boarding party leader. "The enslaved species are joining us the moment we break their neural controls." This created a chain reaction throughout the Viridian fleet. As more enslaved species broke free, they turned their ships' weapons against their former masters. The perfect alien formation collapsed into chaos as ships began firing on each other. Meanwhile, Haiwoon worked from Earth to broadcast liberation signals throughout Viridian space. Using captured alien communication technology, she sent Dr. Chang-wook's neural disruption frequency to every conquered world in the galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy," her message began, speaking in dozens of different alien languages. "You are slaves, but you don't have to be. Remember who you were before they took your minds. Remember freedom." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across hundreds of worlds, enslaved populations suddenly remembered their true selves. Some wept at the realization of what had been done to them. Others exploded into violent rebellion against their Viridian controllers. The alien empire, built on perfect control and absolute obedience, began to collapse. Without their enslaved workers, Viridian industry ground to a halt. Without their conquered soldiers, Viridian fleets found themselves outnumbered by their own crews. Ambassador Veltar found himself trapped aboard his flagship as his own bridge crew turned against him. The beings he had thought were loyal servants revealed themselves to be bitter enemies who had been waiting centuries for this moment. "This is impossible," he gasped as former slaves dragged him from his command chair. "We brought you peace. We brought you order. We gave you purpose." One of his former servants, a tall reptilian being, looked at him with eyes full of ancient hatred. "You gave us nothing but chains. Now you will learn what it feels like to be powerless." In the heart of the space battle, Captain Dong-min led a desperate assault on the main Viridian command ship. The massive vessel was protected by layers of shields and armor, but human ingenuity found a way through. Using modified mining equipment, they drilled directly through the hull and into the ship's computer core. "Plant the virus here," Dong-min ordered his technical team. "If we can corrupt their central database, we can spread the liberation signal to every ship in their fleet." The virus that So Young and her team had created was a masterpiece of digital warfare. It didn't just disrupt Viridian systems, it actively sought out neural control networks and destroyed them. Within minutes of being introduced to the alien computer core, it began spreading throughout their entire fleet. Suddenly, thousands of enslaved beings throughout the Viridian Armada found their minds clearing for the first time in generations. The perfectly coordinated alien fleet became a confused mass of ships operated by newly free crews who had no idea how to fight. Many ships simply stopped firing and drifted helplessly in space. Others turned their weapons on nearby Viridian vessels. A few broke formation entirely and fled toward their home worlds, carrying news of the liberation to other enslaved populations. Captain Min-soo coordinated the rescue of freed beings from damaged ships. His vessels raced through the battle zone, picking up survivors and offering them medical treatment. Many of the rescued aliens had never seen kindness from their captors and couldn't understand why humans would risk their lives to save them. "Because that's what free people do," Min-soo explained to a group of confused former slaves. "We help each other. We protect the weak. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Viridians had lost more than just a military engagement. They had lost their entire reason for existing. Their empire was built on the idea that they were bringing peace and order to lesser species. But now those species were rejecting their gift and choosing chaotic freedom instead. The final blow came when Admiral Byung-ho offered the surviving Viridians a choice. Broadcast from every human ship and transmitted across the galaxy, his message was simple and direct. "People of the Viridian Collective," he began, "you came to our worlds offering peace in exchange for freedom. We rejected your offer. Now we offer you a choice. Withdraw from all conquered territories and begin dismantling your empire of slavery, or face total war with every free species in the galaxy." Ambassador Veltar, now a prisoner on his own ship, tried one last time to negotiate. "You don't understand," he pleaded through the communication system. "Without our guidance, the galaxy will collapse into chaos. Species will fight each other. There will be war and suffering everywhere." President Jihu, speaking from Earth, gave the final human response. "Perhaps there will be war. Perhaps there will be suffering, but there will also be choice. There will be growth. There will be the possibility of something better. You offered us paradise in chains. We chose hell with hope." The Viridian fleet began to withdraw, their perfect formations broken and their confidence shattered. But the damage to their empire was already irreversible. Across the galaxy, liberated species were rising up against their oppressors. The neural control networks that had maintained order for thousands of years were failing everywhere. Some Viridians tried to fight on, but they found themselves facing not just humans, but dozens of other species that had remembered the taste of freedom. The empire that had taken millennia to build crumbled in a matter of weeks. As the alien ships limped away from human space, Dr. Chang Wook made one final modification to his liberation device. Instead of just disrupting neural controls, the new version would seek out and destroy any attempt to rebuild them. "This won't just free the current slaves," he explained to Admiral Byung-ho. "It will make it impossible for anyone to enslave them again. The control technology will simply stop working." 6 months later, Captain Min-Soo led the first human expedition beyond former Viridian space. His mission was not conquest but assistance. Across the galaxy, newly freed species were struggling to rebuild their civilizations after centuries of slavery. "We're not here as conquerors," he announced to each world they visited. "We're here as friends, as allies, as fellow beings who believe in the right to choose your own destiny." The galaxy was indeed more chaotic without Viridian control. Some species fought wars against each other. Others struggled with problems they had forgotten how to solve. But there was also innovation, creativity, and hope that had been missing for thousands of years. Humanity established the Free Species Alliance, an organization dedicated to protecting the independence of liberated worlds. Unlike the Viridian collective, membership was voluntary and members retained complete autonomy over their own affairs. The Viridians taught the galaxy that peace meant surrender, Admiral Byung-ho said during the Alliance's founding ceremony. "We will teach it that true peace can only exist between equals." Years later, scholars would debate whether humanity's violent response to the Viridian offer had been necessary. Some argued that negotiation might have achieved the same results, with less bloodshed. But those who had seen the silent colonies knew better. The Viridians had come for peace, offering humanity a comfortable place in their empire of slaves. The human fleet had come for war, bringing freedom to an entire galaxy. History would judge which choice had been right. In the end, humanity had proven that some things were worth fighting for,